Okay, so with that being said, my name is Donna Lewis, and learning new technology can be quite a daunting task. It's not easy, so that's why we have the department that we do, SILT, and we are here to assist you. I am on the Learning Technologies team, which means I work on the Vula help desk. I'm sure one or two of you would have already interacted with me. So nice to meet you formally here. Meet you. And I help out on the help desk with emails and calls. And Mashudu is part of the learning design team. So she helps with the designing of the course once you've figured out the how-tos on the Vula. Okay, so I'm going to get started. If you have any questions, Mashudu is going to be checking the chat. So please do post questions there. But if at any point, Mashudu, there is a question you'd like me to answer verbally, you're more than welcome to stop. Or if at any point anyone has a question, you're welcome to turn on your mic and just interrupt me. If you're comfortable with it, comfortable with your voice being recorded, you can simply put it in the chat. Okay. So in order to get to Vula, this is the official website that we'll use, and we are going to take you through practical demonstration of how to. So you'll see it once we click into it. But what Vula is a learning management system. So it's a platform for you to share and interact with students on one official site. Why institutions use LMSs is because it helps to have one central space. So research does show that students get confused if there are a whole lot of different spaces that they need to use that are unfamiliar to them. Remember, just as we can be a bit afraid of technology, sometimes students are also a bit scared when learning something new and having to study and figure out where to find something at the same time. It can be quite scary for them. It is important to note at this time of pandemic and in our period of physically distance learning that Vula is currently 0 data rated. That means as soon as you are logged into the Vula website, nothing that is viewed on the website or on the site, should I say, on the LMS itself, will incur any data costs to anyone who is logged onto it. That being said, anything that is linked to Vula from an outside website will incur data costs, such as if you link a YouTube video. Okay, so in Vula, the areas that are created by yourself as a course convener and where you display content and where students interact, those areas that you create are called sites. There are 2 different types of sites. There are course sites and project sites. So the course sites are typically what you would use as official sites for UCT students. These allow you to link class lists directly from PeopleSoft. Whereas with a project site, it's generally used for collaboration and the sharing of content or with people that are working together. Staff sometimes use in terms of certain committees and things like that, and as well as students with SRC groups. But in this area, students have to, or participants have to be added manually. They cannot be linked through a class list, which is important to note when you are creating your site. So all UCT staff are able to create sites, both course and project sites. Staff members, for those of you who have T accounts, you cannot create sites, but you can get somebody such as a course administrator to create a site for you and then just link you as a site owner or a lecturer. Students themselves can create project sites, but they cannot create course sites. Okay, then in terms of logging into Vula, there are 3 different types of Vula accounts. You have your staff login, your student login, and there's a guest login. So staff and students will use their staff or student number as the username, and their password is the general password that has been assigned to them that can be used for all the other logins, such as logging into PeopleSoft and those sort of areas. I will take you through, once we are in the Vula site with what's below, to how to reset your password if you do not know your password. In terms of guest account and guest access, anyone with an email address can be given guest access to any of the sites that you create. You will just add them separately. And these accounts, if there is a problem with passwords, we deal with it directly from the Vula help desk. Whereas if you're logging in as a staff or student account, if you have problems with your password, we direct you to the ICTS department and they deal with your password queries. Then in terms of functionality, if you are familiar with the 6 ways of learning, or if you are familiar with different ways of engaging with students from an education perspective, Vula does cover all these areas and allows you to touch on all 6 different ways of learning. If you want to know a little bit more of what I'm speaking about, you're welcome to log on to the SALT website or contact the Learning Design team. They offer fantastic webinars just to help you as a lecturer get a bit more familiar with different ways of teaching, approaches to teaching and learning, and how to integrate Vula into that to make your courses more interesting for students. Okay, with that being said, learning outcomes, these are just the steps or the list of what I'm going to take you through today in terms of the practical functionality on Vula. I'm going to pause at this point to stop sharing my screen and to be able to share my Vula site with you. Okay, so in order to log into Vula, I've gone into my URL and typed in vula.uct.ac.za. And it's taking me to this page. So this is the landing page, as it's called, and this is the area where you can click to log into Vula. If you can see on this landing page, there are a lot of different, I would say, advertisements that are here. And if I click onto it, it is going to link me to a site that gives me more information about these adverts. You are able to advertise on this landing page. For example, if you want students to know a bit more about your course or know about perhaps a writing course that's linked to your course, you can send us an email via our help email address, and we'll provide all these details at the end of the session. And we'll send you the specs of how to create and what we accept in terms of the size of the image and all of those things. And then you are able to advertise on our landing page. Okay. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see there's an option to click reset password. And if you see, if you are a staff student or T staff member, you can click on password self-service and it automatically resets your password. And if you are a guest, you can click request password change, and guests would need to have access to their email, as that's where the reset password would be sent to. Okay, if I click on guest login, just to show you that is what it would look like for a guest to log in. They would use their email as their username and their password they would create. I'm going to click on UCT login, and if you're logging in for the first time, it's going to ask you to put your credentials in, but because I've already logged into all my other portals for the day, it automatically logs me in to Vula. So this is the Vula homepage or login area, and this is what most people will see when they log into Vula for the first time. So if I look on the top, you'll see that there are certain courses that I am linked to, and these courses have little stars next to them. There are times where we are contacted to say, I can't see all my sites, or I'm not linked to my sites anymore. So all the sites that you are ever linked to can be found on the top right-hand side of your screen. So if you look over here where it says sites, if I click on it, it shows me all the sites that I am registered for or linked to. I can choose to favorite another site, and just note, if you do click favorite, it doesn't give you an option to save. You will have to, on the right side, click on the little X to close it, and here's a little pop-up that allows me to reload. If you can see, another one pops up at the top over here. For students who are automatically linked to sites, it will automatically be favorited and should show on the bar at the top over here. What's also good to note is that you can reorder if you wish to. You can choose to organize your favorites and drag and drop and move them as you wish to. Again, if I close, it's going to give me the option to reload my page. Okay. Then in the same home page, I'm going to draw your attention to the left side menu. And the first option we're going to take a quick look at is membership. If I click on membership, this also gives me a list of all the sites that I am linked to, just as it did over there. The second option I'm going to touch on is profile. So this gives a student or staff member the option to change their picture. You can add an image there, or to edit their profile. With students, they are not given the option to edit their names and email addresses, but staff do have the option to do so. And then what's also useful is to draw your attention to this little help option at the bottom. If I click on it, you'll see it redirects me, and it shows me everything that I could possibly want to know about Vula and the guides that I would need possibly to navigate through Vula. So if you can see, there's a navigating Vula video that's been pre-recorded that you can watch. There's also how to create the different sites.
Sorry, Donna.
Yes.
There is a question in the chat. Sheila asks, is there a way to organize favorites alphabetically, automatically?
Thank you for asking that question. No, from what I know, that there is no way to organize favorites alphabetically.
Okay.
At least not automatically, no. Okay, thank you for the question. That's quite an interesting one to think of. I haven't actually thought of it in that way. I generally go by the courses that I use the most. I tend to put them on the left-hand side because I'm always busy looking and clicking for what's over there. Again, it will work differently for however your mind works. Everyone works differently. So there are two ways of getting to creating a site. The first option, again, on the top right of my screen, I can click on Sites, and I can click on Create New Site. If you can see, it automatically takes me here. If I click out of it, again, on my left side menu, I can click on Work Site Setup and on Create New Site. At this point, you can choose whether you want your site to be a project site. Remember, project sites can't link class lists, or if I want to create a course site. The academic year is automatically populated for you. And in terms of creating site from template, if you want to know more about using templates and about lessons pages, there is a webinar running on Tuesday next week. And again, we'll give you information about this at the end of the session. So I'm going to create a course site, and I'm going to select Continue. And at this point, I would need to indicate what department it is that I am from. So I could choose any department. I'm just going to click on anything for the moment. And I'm going to wait for it to load. And it automatically then populates and gives me all the courses that are available for me to click on. So So I can select that, and if you can see, it automatically allows me to select a class list, the class list that is associated with that course. If you need multiple class lists linked to the site, you can always request that at a later stage. I will show you where to do that so that we can link that manually for you on the help desk side. If you do not wish to add any class lists at that point, you can always click on I still cannot find my course or section, and you can simply add it that way. I'm going to click on continue. And if you can see, it's now given me the option to add a title. And just because I am creating a duplicate site, so when you create a site and you request class lists to be linked, we do that on the Vula Help Desk side. But sometimes your colleague and yourself, you can create a site with the same name and want to link the same class list. When that happens, we stop and we let you know that another site exists by the same name, and we will want to remove or delete one of those sites so that as to not confuse students and link them to two sites with the same name. So I'm just going to call my site Sandbox, just so that it doesn't create any confusion and no one's going to be linked to it yet. I can choose to give my site a description if I wish to. And what is important to note is over here at the bottom, the site contact name. It might seem like something that you would very easily overlook, but in terms of Vula Help, if we have students that perhaps are a bit confused or need assistance and they email us, if it is something that is from the course side, we would then go to the site and look for the site contact information and refer the student to this person. So please make sure that this is always up to date. Okay, once I've added that, I can click on continue. And at this point, it automatically takes me to select tools. So these tools are referring to these tools that are automatically set up on my left menu. If you are not sure which tools you are going to use right now, that's okay. This is just to set up. It's very easy to get back to this point later on and add more tools. So I could, for example, choose to select calendar and perhaps my lessons page and scroll down and click on continue. I can choose to customize if I wish to the title of my lessons. I can just click on continue if I wish to leave it that way. Again, all these little options that they are asking us for, we can go back and edit at a later stage. At this point, I can decide if I want to publish my site or leave it as a draft. If I publish my site, it means my students will be able to see the site. If I leave it as a draft, perhaps I still want to set up the site without students digging around, and then I can choose to leave it as a draft. Once I'm happy with that, I click on continue. And this is just to confirm all the information that I have set up. And I can click on request site. You can see the little pop-up shows me that I've created the site, and I can now click into my site.
Donna?
Yes.
Sorry, before you continue, there is a question. Can you place two classes in one site, but separate them into two groups in one page?
Yes, there is an option to do that. So you can link two class lists. You can link multiple class lists to one site. And once you have created the site, I am going to take you through that option of creating what we call ad hoc groups. And from there, you can then choose what you wish for the different groups to be able to see. That might be a little bit advanced for this webinar today, but if you would like to know more about it, please do contact us, help@Vula, and we'll be able to guide you through that or set up an appointment just to show you a little bit more about that. Thank you for the question.
Is the class list something created by UCT or something we set up ourselves?
Thank you for that question. So the class lists are automatically linked to Vula from PeopleSoft. And PeopleSoft is where students would go to register for their courses. So it's not something that you create. It's something that as students are registered, if your site is already created, it automatically links them into the site on Vula.
Okay, thank you. Great answers.
Thank you so much, Mashudu. And I am mentioned we're going to click into site setup. And if you can see over here, if I hover over it on my left menu, site setup, this area is not visible to students. So if you can see, there's a little eye with a line through it, and it shows if I hover over it that this is only for admin use. Students will never be able to see this section, and this is the area where you make all your changes and adjustments that is needed. So I'm going to click on site setup, and if you can see, there's quite a lot of options that's available to you. I'm just going to click through it and show you the different options that are here that you might find useful. So the first option is the site information. And again, this is where I will come to give students contact information if, for example, they say they can't see their site and I can see that they are registered, or if they're saying they're having trouble and they're trying to contact somebody from their course, then I will come here and make sure that I give them this contact information. So that's why we ask that you keep that updated. This is also the area where you can see what class list has been requested. So once this happens, we receive an automated email from you on the Vula help desk, and we go and link your site to the class list to your site, and we'll send you an email letting you know that this has been actioned. It generally takes about an hour to populate, to pull through from PeopleSoft and assign students onto Vula. Okay, the second option over here is to edit the site information. So again, this is where we go back to edit if I want to edit the contact person. The third option is to click on Manage Tools. And this is where when we were setting up our site, it was asking us about the tools. This is where we are able to select or deselect any tools we wish to make use of or have our students view. So I'm just going to add gradebook and forums, and I can click on continue. Once I do that, it's just notifying me that I have selected those two. I can go back if I've made a mistake, or I can click on finish. And if you can see immediately, it adds it to this left menu. The next option is to click on Organize Tools. So I am able to reorganize the order in which the tools are listed on my left menu. I can simply drag and drop and move my tools into the position that I wish for them to be in. I can also then choose to click on this little setting option. The first option is to edit the tool title. So I can choose to call it assignment tasks if I wish to. Just doing it as an example to show you how it changes. If I click back on the same option, I can choose to make the tool invisible to students. So if I wish to use the tool and set it up already and have it on my left menu, I can choose to make it invisible to students until such time as I'm going to use it. Or there are lecturers that make certain tools invisible to students during examination periods, just so that they don't have something to refer back to for a certain amount of time. I could also choose to, if, for example, I've added gradebook and I don't want gradebook to be there, I can choose to delete the tool. There's a pop-up to make sure that I do want to do that, and I can click on save, and all the reordering will have happened. Okay. I'm then going to click onto add participants. So if you can see in the edit site information, we were able to see that we had requested a class list. This is the area where you can add colleagues, you can add anyone else manually to your site. So what's important to note, if you see over here, it says UCT email addresses or usernames. It happens that at certain points, the email addresses don't work. So you can try and add certain people, and at some point it will say that this is not working, or it will give you an error message, which normally happens. What happens at that point is that you end up mailing us and say the student won't be added, or this lecturer, I can't add my colleague. What we will do is then we strongly suggest that you use usernames instead of email addresses to link staff and students if you are adding them manually. It just makes it easier. So thank you, Mashudu, for giving me your student number, your staff number. I'm going to choose to add Mashudu to my site, and I'm also going to choose to add myself as a guest user to the site as my Gmail account. And I can choose to click on continue. Once I do that, it's going to ask me what I want, what role I want these participants to have. And for now, I'm going to select student, and I'm going to click on continue. It asks me about sending an email. I generally suggest that you don't send an email. It just creates a lot of confusion, especially now that the site is still unpublished. So it shows me my list of who I've added, and I can click on finish. Once I click finish, it automatically takes me to the next tab, which is managing participants. If I'm in my site and I click on manage participants, it's going to show me a full list of all the participants that are in my site. These are participants I have added, as well as participants that have automatically been linked through PeopleSoft. It also shows me the role of the participants in my course. So I can see who the site owner is. I can choose to change what role they have. I can choose to make them a tutor or support staff, or I can say make another member a lecturer or a site owner if I wish to. There's also the option over here under status to make somebody inactive. When you would make use of this option is, for example, perhaps there's a student that's deregistered for your course. And just as a precautionary, you don't want the student to have access or to be able to see the course, you can simply go and find them and make that student inactive. If, for example, you have added a student to a course or via a guest site and you've added the email address incorrectly, you can go and click on remove, and you can remove participants. Okay, if I click on edit class lists, at this point is where you can add class lists and add class lists directly from PeopleSoft. You can request all the class lists at once, and that's where we will go and add it from the help desk side. Okay, at this point, I'm going to click on ad hoc groups. So in this area, you can create different groups for your site. Why you would want to do this, there is various reasons. As Moses spoke about, you might have two different class lists linked, and you want the students in the group to be able to see different things. You might have a group assignment, and you want students to be grouped within the assignment here. Or you might have, for example, a sub-exam or a SIC exam that you want a student to be able to view. At this point, you would then go and create a group so that only the students that are linked to that group will be able to see that sub-exam, for example. So I'm just going to click on create new group, and I'm going to be crazy and just give it a title. I can give it a description if I wish to. I can allow the members in the group to see who else is in their group if I want to do that. I can do that if I'm dealing with students in an assignment. I can choose not to if it's a second exam. And at this point, underneath available members, it will list all the students that are linked to your site, or should I say all the participants. You can see there's an option to tick all the people in one role. So for example, perhaps you're creating a group just for your tutors and you can tick tutor role, or I can choose to perhaps add only my guest account and my Shudu to this new group. So once I select it, I will use the arrows to move it across to the other side. It shows who the assigned members are, and I can click on Add Group. You can see it's now added the group, and there's an option to select and remove if I wish to. There's other options of automatically creating groups or the bulk creation of groups. I'm not going to go through that in much detail now. If it's something you would like more information about, please do contact us on the help desk. Okay, I'm going to click back into site setup. And the next option I'm going to show you is managing access. So again, if I've chosen to leave my site unpublished, I can either go here and click Publish Now, or this is the area that I can go to click on Publish My Site. If I click just next to it, to duplicate site. So if you decided to take this year and create the most amazing site and you feel it worked for you and you would really like to use the same thing next year for your students, or you're in the new year now and you say, I want to use that site. You can duplicate a site exactly as, so for example, I've set everything up and I get to next year and I can choose to just rename it. And I can duplicate the exact site. So I will go into this site, which is my old site, and I will choose to duplicate, and it will automatically create a site with whatever new name I'm giving it, with all the same features and what I have inserted in it. There's also an option to click on Import from Site. So this allows you to, if you can see the options below, to replace data, to merge data. I'm not too sure that you would want to merge students, but if you click on this, you will be able to get a list of other sites, and you can choose to merge data, perhaps of sites from previous years, or go and fetch certain things from other sites instead of having to recreate it. Okay, I'm going to pause at this point. Are there any questions?
Not in the chat.
Lindy here. I was just wondering, the duplicate site, I'm teaching a bunch of courses and the students would be the same for all the courses. So if I duplicate site, if you can go back to that. And you said what, sugar-free or something. Will it be able to pull up that specific another course name? So we would
generally suggest not using the exact same course name, simply for our purposes as administrators, just to be able to differentiate between the different courses that are created. So we'll generally say whatever the class's name is 2021, so that we can see difference between 2021 and 2022.
Okay, so you've got AGE 2012F. Okay, so say I've got another course, AGE 2013F. Can I use that, or should I just, would that be fine?
Yes, that would be great. It does help to just have 2021 next to it. Because from the admin side, yeah, then we are just able to easily find the course if we are looking into it to add class lists or something like that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sure. So in general, when you create a site, most individuals leave the site name as the class list name and just add the year next to it. But in certain instances, there might be, as Moses mentioned, two groups that are joined together or multiple class lists that are in one course. Then you could choose to rename your course to something else just so that it relates better to all the students that are linked inside your course.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're almost done. It's quite difficult to actually speak to a laptop and not to see people. I can't see your reactions or know if anyone's falling asleep. So hopefully you're not, and that you are finding this useful. Again, please feel free to stop me at any point. Okay, so I'm just going to touch on 3 tools. And tools, by tools, I mean what the tools that are available over here on the left menu, just to show you what is available to you. And what you can do with the different areas. So the first one is resources. And the resource folder is an extremely useful area and folder to be in. However, we caution against just using this area. And I know in a time of physically distanced learning and having to figure things out, lecturers got to a point where it was panic. I just need my students to get the information. So they just started, I want to say, using this area as a sort of a dumping site. So they just took all the information, they uploaded it. It doesn't matter if it was in folders or not. And the students just had to go and figure out and find everything in this area. Not the easiest things for students to navigate or to understand. So even if you are going to, and if you use this resource area, we also recommend that you use the lessons tool at the same time. The lessons tool, and if you do want to know more about this, please do sign up. We'll give you the information at the end of the session, but we are having a session on lessons on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, just to take you through how to create learning pathways for your students, to put instructional text in so that you're not just using a dumping site, but explaining resources as you are inserting them so that students are understanding and can see a pathway to their learning. Okay, so in this area, if you can see my Sandbox resources site, I can choose to click on actions and I can create folders within. So this might be very useful to you. It might also help. So you can choose to, add as many folders as you wish here. You can choose to hide certain folders in this area from students. But just remember that students do sometimes end up clicking, and in this area, they might click here and be looking for something and be very confused if you just use it as a dump site. So it helps to create a bit of a structure in this area. So if you can see, I've created 2 modules. I can then click, or 2 folders for my modules. I can then click on, for example, upload files. So once I've clicked on that, I can drag and drop into the section, or I can click over here. It pops up and it allows me to, for example, add a picture. I can click on continue. And perhaps I've realized, oh goodness me, this was supposed to be in module 1. So next to the picture, I can click on actions and I can click on move. And you'll see as soon as I've done that, there's paste options next to all of these folders. I can now click on paste next to module 1, and if you can see, it reloads and it shows me that this image is now inside my module 1 folder. When uploading to this area, and I know we also make use of lecture recordings, we generally suggest that you don't use this area, but you use lesson recordings to upload videos into. The reason being is that if you are uploading into lesson recordings, it does significantly shrink the size of the file, whereas if you're uploading it into resources, that remains at the same size of the file. So if I click on check quota, This is where you are able to check how many gigs you have left. For the course site, you are given 25 gigs to use within the site to make use of. Within a project site, you are only given 2 gigs. So once your 25 gigs have run up, and we have a lot of lecturers that do end up emailing us and say, I am uploading a lot of lecture videos. I've reached my quota. Is there a way you can increase my quota? We then take your request into consideration, and we can then increase this quota if it's needed. Again, you'll just send an email to the help desk.
Hi, sorry, me again.
Yes.
So you recommend that videos be placed under resources and not lessons?
No, the other way around.
Okay, other way around. Okay.
Yes.
So. All right.
Okay. Thank you for asking for clarity with that one. So resources,
Okay.
Sure. So resources just uploads it as usual into the resource area, whereas if you're going to upload it into your lecture recordings or lecture videos area, that automatically significantly shrinks the size of the video that you're uploading. So it allows you more space in general in your quota of the amount of space you're using in your site. And it just allows you to upload more videos as it's needed. Okay, are there any other questions?
There was a question. Would you recommend placing course readings in resources and class lectures and lessons? So I answered this question in the chat to say it's always better to upload like course readings in under resources and put them in appropriate folders. That way it's nicely organized and you know what resources for which module or which lesson, and then embed from resources into your lesson page. Yeah.
Thank you, Mashudu. That's perfect. Yes. So the resources, again, like we said, we want to try and avoid being a content dump. If we have time at the end, I will just click into another page that I've created, lessons, and just to show you what it looks like once you've populated in the lessons area and how much easier it can be just in terms of student navigation and the visual connection to the course. Okay, so there's 2 more tools I'm going to show you. The first one is announcements. So if I click on announcements, I can choose to click on add. And I can say that there's a quiz. And I can describe or tell students that there's a quiz coming up. Please make sure you look out for the quiz. And if you can see, there's a lot of editing options available over here. So once you type, excuse me. Sorry about that. Once you type, you can choose to edit the text in various different ways. And what's important to note is you can also choose to hide the announcement if perhaps you're busy typing and you get called to something and you're busy and you think, oh my goodness, I've just typed out this whole thing and I don't want to lose it. Or you can choose to release it on a specific date. So again, this helps just in terms of having lessons completely on Vula and not always having the time to go back and create things in the time that you need it. You can always create everything, for example, on Monday morning for the week, and you can choose to release it later on in that week or even in that month. You'll see there's also an option to add an attachment if you wish to. And the most important option is the one below that says email notification. If I click on this drop-down arrow, I'm going to recommend that you click on Hi and all participants. It is possible that students can come back and say, I didn't see the announcement. I didn't know there was an announcement. This automatically sends the announcement to the student's email and makes sure that in the student email, they receive that announcement. So there's no excuses. I can then click on post announcement. Oh, I need to say something. Okay, post announcement, and there my announcement is. I can click on it, but also if I click on overview and any site that is created, automatically the announcements will be seen over here. So if you see announcements, that's the announcement that I have just created. So when students log on to your site or click into your site for the first time, the first page they see is the overview page. And this is where the announcements will be visible. There's also the last option I'm going to show you is to add a calendar event. Calendar events are not used very often, just due to the nature of the type of students we have in South Africa. It's generally not something that students would view, but it is useful perhaps if it's something that you want to tell students, please make sure I am using the calendar tool. Please make sure that you are viewing it every so often. So I can choose to click on add an event, and I can say that there's a webinar coming up. I can give it a start time. So perhaps it's at 11 p.m., 11 a.m. Hopefully I'm not letting students go to a webinar at 11 p.m. I can then give a little message about it. And again, I can choose to use these options to edit. And I can add an attachment if I wish to, and I can click on save event. And if you can see, it shows me that my webinar is there. Again, if I click on the overview page, below my announcements is the calendar option. There's somebody's microphone that is on. Is it possible you can mute, please? Okay, and that's the calendar option. If you can see, it notifies students that something's there, and here at the bottom it tells me what event is there. Okay, I'm going to pause at this point. Are there any questions? I am now officially done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Donna. There is a question from Karen. Is it possible to have access to someone else's calendar? The prof I worked for has asked me to add events to her Vula calendar.
Okay, so in terms of the Vula calendar, the only way you would have access to that Vula calendar is to have access to the site. So they would need to give you site access and allow you to be able to click into and change things directly on the site. I hope that's answered your question.
So should need to be a site owner or support staff, hey?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Or even a lecturer. Lecturers also are able to click in calendars. Okay. Just
thank you.
Briefly, thank you so much, Mashudu. Just briefly, I'm going to click into another site that has been populated using the 2021 course site template. And if you can see, the overview page looks a little bit different, but I also really just wanted to click into the lessons page just to show you in terms of lessons pages how you can structure your course. So if you can see, instead of just having everything in resources folder, I can choose to divide my weeks into perhaps module 1 and week 1. If you can see, I've given a bit of instructional text, and I have given a link to a video. I can also choose to link to the assignments. So there's a test, and I've chosen to link to the test. And there's also a forum. And if, for example, the student clicks on the test, it takes them directly there. So the lessons option is a great one to use along with resources. And again, if you would like to know more about that, there is a pre-recorded video, but there's also a webinar coming up on Tuesday. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. But it is 1 minute past 11. So I would just like to say thank you so much to all of you for attending the session today. Please do make use of our help email address and our telephone number, extension 5500. And we will make, Mashudu, I'm not too sure if you would like to paste any of this into the chat. I would, especially the links that are provided over here. But again, if there's anything further that you wish to know of, please do let us know. Please do link to the SALT website and click on events. And there you'll see a list of all the webinars that we are running in the next month. And thank you to Max for running and organizing all the logistics with regards to that. So to Mashudu and Max, thank you very, very much for assisting me today. Especially you, Mashudu. Thanks for helping in the chat. I know it's not always easy. And to the rest of you, thank you very much for attending the session today. I know it's not easy to learn something new, so please feel free to contact us on the help desk, and please be patient with yourself. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. You did well. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.